Anzad, Imran Khan will be joining shortly.
Please take us live.
अच्छा, आपको लाइव कर रहे हैं, वो फिर ज्वाइन कर लेंगे. ओके, चलें करें. Anzad, you're live.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the CxOInsurTech Summit 2022. We've been joined with another esteemed panel who are going to be talking to us about what stage of artificial intelligence and predictive analytics is the insurance industry in Pakistan. Let me introduce the esteemed panel for today. Joining us today is Mr. Nayyar Hussain. He's the Executive Director for Salam Takaful Limited. Along with him, we've got Mr. Faisal Khan. He's the Chief Risk Officer at IGI General Insurance. Then we've got Mr. Munir Ahmed. He's the Joint Director at United International Group. And then we've got Mr. Imran Hussain, who's the Director at Adamji Life Assurance. He's going to be joining us shortly. Welcome to the panel, gentlemen. And let me start by asking my first question. And that is going to be directed towards Mr. Nayyar. So, in the context of Pakistan, why is it important to utilize artificial intelligence and predictive intelligence when predictive analytics when we're referring to the insurance industry?
Before coming to directly to your question, I think I would like to give some certain background of the digital or artificial intelligence used for the insurance industry in Pakistan. Previously I have worked at the SCCP, and recently SCCP has introduced the digital insurance framework. So I started working in SCCP about 3 years back. I think this is I think this step of the regulator will provide an impetus for the digitalization and use of AI in big data analytics and machine learning in insurance. Now, coming to your question at why AI or machine learning is important in insurance, there are obviously many reasons. First is that insurance companies have big data actually, and unfortunately that data has not been fully optimized for use. So insurance companies use customers' data to in their underwriting, their life insurance underwriting, in health underwriting, in product design, pricing. So there are obviously there are many areas for use of the AI or machine learning insurance.
Right, sir. Thank you for keeping that brief. Mr. Faisal Khan, your thoughts?
Yeah, if you ask me on this subject, I think yes, there is a dire need for this artificial intelligence in the area, because we have seen, very recently with the floods coming in, the kind of the devastation we have had. People are saying that according to the same customers, it's going to be somewhere to the tune of $11 billion worth of economic loss. And talk about the insurance losses, hardly a fraction because of the very low insurance penetration. I was saying this, I was telling a little earlier, and the same I was listening perhaps in the morning session from Amir Khan Saab, the chairman of CCP, and he's telling the same thing. There was this low insurance penetration of 49%. This gives us a very small room to maneuver, and and a very less data available, as he said. Though we know there are a lot many touch points when we talk about the insurance business in the respect of the agriculture, the livestock, the micro insurance. So there is a lot of groundwork which is there to be done by the insurance sector, by the insurance people. I also happen to be the part of the Insurance Association of Pakistan. I'm the a member of the executive committee at the moment, and we are taking a lot of initiatives with the regulator, CCP, and to some extent the other governing regulatory bodies like State Bank. So there is a lot. I think the world has changed after the COVID, and there is a lot of digitalization in different sectors. What we are missing here in Pakistan is the right I would say the regime or the network, the regulatory regime which supports this sector. So there are a lot many initiatives done by SEC in the recent past we have seen, but I think there's a lot more to be done with in the sense of security we provide to the customers. Also utilizing the digital channels, the insurance companies to incentivize insurance companies to rather have distribution across life and non-life products for the digital-based applications. I think many of the people here in Pakistan, I'm talking about the top boys, the top 5 or the top few of the top 10 companies in the general side, which I know have done quite a way ahead, especially in the auto sector, and the banker channels, especially for the life segment. And there we also have some success stories to share, especially with respect to the lending and the recent initiative of the Mera Ghar scheme was by the ex-government. So yes, there are a lot many things which probably would tell us, or set the pace and set the landscape to grow. But there are, I think, a lot many opportunities coming up as we go and we concentrate towards developing a consensus and see this is how it is going to benefit the industry as a whole. You're mute.
Now, moving on, Mr. Munir Ahmed. Now, Mr. Faisal Khan has made some very valid points. And let's also dig a little deep into the fact that with artificial intelligence also comes machine learning, then we are head towards deep learning. In Pakistan, where connectivity now, we keep hearing about the fact that, we've got about 70% of our population that are connected, and there's, a lot of data that is being available now as opposed to 10, 20 years ago. What implications does this have for how we're going to be able to learn consumers' behavior patterns better and risk analysis better?
Okay, thank you, Anza. Let me start with an example that from the past 10 years, we are used to of talking, the historic data and, the analytics of the data. And if we talk about, an average Pakistani, like even in my house, we used to speak that yesterday it was raining. We used to talk that it was hot yesterday. But if you see today, when I talk to my wife, she says that tomorrow there will be a raining. So now we as a family and our kids have started talking about the future. Like this 1 week, we will be having a raining and we will be having a hot weather. And also, I want to highlight this example that if we remember from the last 10 years, the solar eclipse. We see in the newspaper that this day, this time, there will be a solar eclipse, like, Suraj Grahan. So now coming to the insurance. Now it is becoming very, very important that we have a lot of data and we have to develop the machine learning or the deep learning model to accelerate the process. Like I will give an example here that in United Insurance, we are very focused on livestock and crop insurance. So for the livestock, what we are doing is that we are using a deep machine learning algorithm to identify the animals. Like I discussed in the last year InsurTech Summit in a very detail. Okay, now we are heading towards the motor claims settlement. Like for example, insurance people know that we have a pre-inspection and then we have a post-inspection. So we are digitizing this process. And like, for example, using in our app, if you just take a 360 view or 10 to 20 pictures of the vehicle, it will be automatically insured. And our machine learning and deep learning algorithm will analyze if there are any defects. So comparing to the population of the Pakistan, and awareness which is increasing in Pakistan, every insurance company will be needing, called machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence expert in their IT department.
Absolutely. Agreed. Mr. Imran Hussain, do we have you with us right now? I believe there's a connectivity issue at his end. But moving on, Mr. Nair, my next question is going to be for you, sir. When we talk about artificial intelligence and that one of the biggest components is better analytics, right? We want to be able to make data-driven decisions. Where do you think the opportunities really lie in terms of predictive intelligence and analytics in the insurance industry in Pakistan?
I think I would like to touch on the life insurance perspective here. For example, in life insurance, currently the manual underwriting is being done largely by the life insurance companies. But there's a next phase there. Some companies are moving towards automated underwriting. By automated underwriting, they means they have actually digitized the whole process of form submission and form analysis and then underwriting and giving their underwriting decisions. They have built the underwriting rules into an underwriting engine, and the engine analyzes the information and then assesses the risk, and accordingly the policy is issued based on certain risk. But now the next step, which is I think going to unfold in future, I think that maybe 2 to 3 years, is the augmented underwriting, which is basically a predictive underwriting. So under the predictive underwriting, the insurance company's IT system actually captures the medical information from different resources and apply predictive mortality tables actually. So based on the medical information of different sources and and if the mortality and they accordingly priced into the product. So I think the next very important phase is the augmented underwriting, and Munich Re, as you know, is very active in the life insurance. Munich Re has developed augmented underwriting. So Salam Takaful, like Salam, we are actually, we are aiming to bring the Pakistan's first digital life insurance company. So we are thinking actually to introduce the augmented underwriting in 2 to 3 years down the road.
Right, sir. Sounds very futuristic. But speaking of some of the opportunities, it's brilliant in the context of life insurance. But let's move a little bit further. Mr. Faisal Khan, where do you think the opportunities lie?
Well, in terms of the opportunities, I think there are a lot on the development, on the distribution, and also on the claim settlement. As one of my colleagues is just telling us that they are advancing much on the livestock and the agri products. I think there is a lot more to be done in this area because there's a huge potential. Probably you would know that the annual contribution of the agriculture and the GDP is more than 15 billion US dollars. And though we being by far and large the agriculture country, we have a very small insurance penetration in this area. So it's mostly funded by the government and into various schemes. But I think there's one thing which is developing, and it's something which is extremely good in the perspective of the insurance, is the program which is recently launched, not recently, but a few years back, was launched by Punjab government, and that is the insurance which is based on area yield, and that's the area where we are actually lacking a lot of the data. With the global warming coming in, and we're seeing the kind of the events which were 1 in 100 years, it's now happening once in decades. So it's progressing at such a fast pace, and we as insurers are lagging behind quite much. So this is perhaps the area where we all have to concentrate our efforts in developing the algorithms. Though there is not much of pricing done within Pakistan because it's basically reinsured outside the country. But as we develop this expertise within the country and start underwriting inside the country, we see there is a lot more the space to work and to exert our not only in terms of the time and money, but also on the infrastructure. So, for example, if we do not have the data with respect to any particular region in the upper and the lower Punjab or across the the Indus, the river Indus, we are not very sure that what are the fields which are very much close to the areas where we might have the breaches in the last flood. So had we known that these are the areas or the small tributaries where we saw those breaches happening, we could have saved a lot. The insurance companies, I mean, not only the insurance perspective, but also from the economic perspective, that there's more governance. I mean, there is a lot more to be done on the ESG part as well. And that is how it connects into the overall landscape for the AI and digitalization and how it helps. I mean, if you go to the North America, or even the advanced European models, you would see that there is a base price model for every single product you sell, be it on the distributor, be it on a digitalized product or you sell in a conservative means. For that base price, you have to have that data, the big data we talk about every now and then, and the IoT. That not only this data, that how is this being analyzed and how this is being conserved and stayed in the system and made accessible to the people. So that is there. It's a lot to be done by the government agencies, the bodies who can collect this data, collate this data, and make it available to the people, to the general public. There is a lot of data. Gone are the days when we never had that access to the Google map. We have not thought about focusing and seeing that having these trackers not only in the cars but also on our day-to-day things. You can track every single movement, even of your pets, the animals.
Right.
So there's a lot which is already done, and I think there is a lot more which can be done by the insurance study. Just the matter that how focused you are and how much time and money you can deploy towards this development.
I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that our strategy within Pakistan has always been very reactionary, right? Very defensive rather than being proactive. So we wait for disasters, and I'm going to also speak in the context of life insurance with the general public. Nobody really, wants to go ahead with it until an unfortunate calamity happens. And we saw that happen post COVID-19, a lot of rise in life insurance and policies. However, Mr. Imran Hussain, are you there with us? Mr. Imran Hussain?
He's muted.
Sir, you're mute if you're trying to speak. Right. I think there's some connectivity issue at his end. But moving on. Now, Mr. Nair, my next question is for you, sir. We know that more than 60% of Pakistan's population is under the age of 35. That means we're dealing with a lot of millennials and Gen Z. A lot of data is now more readily available than it was previously. How are we tapping into this potential with, having such a large, population that's under the age of 35? And do you see any challenges, perhaps?
Yeah, I think I would like to reiterate my first point. I think that since the SCCP has issued a digital-only insurance framework, so I believe the new players who are more technology-focused and digital-only insurer, they will actually really try to tap this market. And the existing insurance companies have made some efforts, but since actually they are largely stuck in physical-based their distribution structures, for example, direct sales force or bank insurance. So largely they have not tapped to this market. But I believe that the new players who are more technology-based actually, and then since the new generation is also very tech-savvy actually. So the insurance companies, they have to actually redesign their business model actually, because when you are selling to young population who are tech savvy, you have to provide full disclosures and more information to the policyholders actually. So to bear that transparency, you need to redesign your products to provide more value to customers actually, because currently the insurance companies have not much focus, I think, on the customer centricity. But under the digital era, you have to focus on the customer centricity, and then you have to accordingly design the products and then design your distribution structures. So I think it's a very right opportunity for the industry at this point in time, that the regulator is also pushing for the digital insurance, and we have a lot of huge tele density, we have a lot of internet users, and we have a huge young population. So to fully capture this demographic dividend, and I would say a technological dividend as well, I think it's the right time to redesign the business models and product and their distribution structures.
Right. So point well taken. Now, Mr. Faisal Khan, building up on the same, we talk about, I was reading a report by McKinsey talking about the insurance trends of 2030. And, the world is now talking about the prevalence of robots and open source and data ecosystems. And then we also have advancements in the sense that, like Mr. Nayyar had earlier mentioned, you want to be able to give more visibility and have a customer-centric approach. Now, are we working towards any models that can maybe provide more visibility according to the changing trends, changing policies, what risk analytics are going on in the back end, what happens each time when a young person, maybe switches a job or it turns older? Are we giving them live insights through some kind of bot? Are we going towards a personalized path for everyone's insurance policy that is adapting?
Yeah, I think you have really pointed out that there is perhaps a lack. There is a lack of understanding. There's a lack, and then again, not only a lack. There's also perhaps people are not that much geared up. I mean, the industry is not that much geared up to invest into the systems, into the AI, into the digital infrastructure. When we had this COVID initially, I can tell you, from our example, from IGA General Spec, from the IGA Life as well, that, it took us just a day to switch the whole of the team from an office location to work from the remote locations. And it's only possible that you foresee things happening. It's not like they were foreseeing the COVID to come, but just that we know that you have to have the BCP in place, the business continuity planning, in these kind of disaster-like situations. Or even if not a disaster, you have to prepare yourselves for the upcoming times. So there are several mega trends which are shaping a new operating environment for the insurers, and that is hugely disruptive. The challenges which are traditional ways of value creation are no more there. So you have to invest more on your infrastructure first. So I think, yes, many people have now realized the importance, that how important it is to promote yourself not only as an insurance company who's available to come at your doorstep and to give the service on your doorstep. I think that things are now changing. People want it happening live, and that is something where you want to communicate with the company either through the WhatsApp, through your the online channels, through the portals. So unless you have those means available, you probably cannot shape yourself up in the sector. So, for example, for us, I think there were many tools which we developed to enable our customers. We developed portals which help them generate their own policies. We have to do pricing for them and have to build in the system where the systems are bespoke enough to interact with each other, to speak the same language. You need to have those portals where the surveyors, the loss adjusters can log in and put up the information which is readily accessible, digitized, and then a solution comes up right in the shape of an IBFT transfer to your account. So these are the things which probably are more obviously developing not only a competitive edge for you, but also generate a lot of ease of doing business, ease of placing your insurance. So that is something where there's a two-pronged thing, I would say. One is the micro insurance, and the other is the commercial insurance. So on the micro insurance thing, there is a lot more done by the government, and they're still doing. We have heard about the health card in the previous session. I was listening, and the Sehat card, and also on the agricultural based products. You'll be surprised to know the neighbors who happen to be a fierce and ferocious neighbors rather on the east. They have a market size of more than $100 billion.
Right.
$100 billion, right? And we, though we are just like 6 times smaller in many respects, the market size is hardly $1.5 billion US dollars. So you see,
Right.
there's huge gap, and it's in the two areas where they are growing is agri and the health and auto, by the way. So,
Yeah.
so these are the three major areas where if you have a consensus with the regulator, with the regulator both on the insurance side and on the finance, which is SBP, the state bank, and the insurance bodies. I think there are a lot doing. SCCP is encouraging the IAP, the insurance platform, to have their own SROs, the way the state bank
Yeah.
has. But I
Absolutely.
mean, we're not get up to that level as such, I would say. But then again, having said all that, if we make this mandatory, the auto insurance sector, the premium's going to go 3 times. I mean, if you're here so it is just a matter of having this. Though it's not like that's the regulation is not there. The regulation is there, but it's not that enforced in a manner which supports the general insurance business, the auto insurance. It's not only the third party. We're talking about the comprehensive insurance. So the comprehensive insurance, you'll be surprised to know that the insurance industry is paying more than 10 billion rupees worth of losses every year. So this is a huge, I mean, with so small a market compared to the region, the payout is huge. And there's a huge economy of scale if we have those digitized means to transact this business. So, for example, if we have those platforms which help, I mean, we do have this for the many of the corporate customers and some of the individual ones where they are able to pay up through the banking online applications, with the credit cards and the debit cards also, or the IBFT channels. We have to have that infrastructure which recognize this transaction as safe and secure. You've seen that, in China, we also have that thing, the application called WeChat, which is
WeChat, right?
of WhatsApp. On WeChat, you can transfer money. We do have like a lot more, lot happening in the tele sales, I would say, and we're also joining hands with one of the big entities here, about to, in fact, which is going to transform this sector. But then again, with the tele sales, you see, there are many margins. Not much margin, and there are many mouths to feed all across the distribution line, all across the distribution channel. But if you have those means direct, where the customer has that feeling, the sense, the security that whatever transaction they are doing is safe and secure, and they're able to receive the compensation of insurance companies through the same mechanism, they will be, dying to buy this. So we have also launched one of the products called Vitality on the live side, which is through our live platform, and it's also very much digitized with many of the banks sold through the banker channels. I think there is a huge success story where we are encouraging not only the death benefits but the living benefits, and that is very much dependent on the lifestyle you have. So, for example, if you are earning a healthy lifestyle, you are, we have an app, and through that app, you are encouraged to spend on the healthy eating, healthy dining, to do your blood work done, your labs with the basics, the cholesterol and things like that, the number of the steps you take every day. So everything is going to add value, and in the end of the day, you probably be able to redeem 40% of the premiums, which you have paid already in advance at the outset of the year. So 40% is a huge for the customer in a life sector where the agency commissions are as high as 70-75% for the first year premiums. And then if you're encouraging the customers to reap those benefits for themselves for as big as 40 or 45%, and at the end of the day, if they happen to be a platinum customer, which have done so many steps in a day, and they are maintaining their health and they're getting up and they are putting everything on that app, they are also being incentivized in terms of the products. We provide them the iWatches, the Samsung watches, and things like that. So there is a lot more to share. It all depends that if you are really geared up and you have that will and capability and structure to support. And that a lot has to come from the sponsors, I would say. And the mindset of the people here in Pakistan, I think, is gradually changing. It was, I mean, if you go 10 years back, people would not like to invest heavily into the fintech products. But now I think people are now very much open in terms of developing those means and investing in the startups, which probably would generate return not in the very first year, but it might have a profit cycle where you see that's like it comes on break even in 5 years. So you have to have that patience. You have to have that patience. You have to have that amount of expense which you can or you should actually generate right up front. So you need to provide that seed capital. You need to provide that the access to the people who are and enable them to execute things for you. So I think that is gradually changing, and with the leadership we have at SCCP, I think there is a lot which is done, but probably what we do need is some kind of the lawmaking and the laws which are made in the assemblies have to be fully functional. People have to have that confidence so that we have those laws which are made by the parliament, which enable not only the insurers, the banks also to and provide those tax corridors, the incentives. Recently, we have seen that those taxes have been or the advantage against those tax benefits was available to people if they invest in mutual funds, if they invest into the life policies and pensions. Is withdrawn, and that's a big setback. I think that's a bit low because I have seen people surrendering policies because of this, because there is no incentive for them up front. And it was
absolutely, Mr. Faisal Khan, sorry to interrupt you here, but we're going to listen to your policy recommendations separately right after this. But I'm going to move ahead to Mr. Munir Ahmed. Now, Mr. Faisal Khan had brought forward some very important points, some out-of-the-box innovative ideas as well about what we should be doing. However, Mr. Munir Ahmed, let's address the elephant in the room. With our current challenges and the digital inequality, the digital divide, connectivity issues, I mean, even living in the capital, there are a lot of times where I'm not getting proper internet on my phone. And it's, this is as, urbanized as it gets. What stage is Pakistan on with regards to, our artificial intelligence and predictive analytics stage, and how rapid can this progression be for the insurance industry?
Okay. Let me explain you that currently what I can see is as a PhD scholar, and I can see in the universities that our students, they are learning, almost all the universities in computer science background, they are teaching machine learning, deep learning, and sentiment analysis. So we have now our youth getting ready for these algorithms. Those are called machine learning algorithms. So we will focus ourselves on the insurance company. Insurance companies have data. For example, Mr. Faisal was telling that there are digital platforms, applications, those are generating data. Like, for example, we are General Health Insurance Company, United Insurance. We are collecting data for the claims. For example, my family is insured, and the data about my claims are being entered in the system. That, for example, a family member got sick. My area, for example, Lahore. So this data is coming through this digital platform, and this data is growing. All the insurance companies have this data. Now, what we have to do is that we have to connect academia and the insurance companies together so that these students, they can perform analysis on the data, because currently university students they are doing their analysis on the random data available on the internet. So there should be connectivity between insurance and academia to conduct these research. Like in United Insurance, we are doing. What we did is that we selected our 5 IT resources. Those are collaborating with the university, and we are building these models. Like, for example, predictive dashboards in the future. Like, from I can see that last 10 years of the technology and 2023 alone will be equal. That there will be a rapid increase in the technology, which we can see that there will be a dashboard, those will be called predictive dashboard. There will be an underwriting that will be called predictive underwriting. Like, for example, Mr. Faisal was explaining about the crop insurance. United Insurance are very, specific on crop insurance products. So we can come up with new plans of crop yield insurance. Like, for example, we get some satellite images, we get some sensor data, and we connect. And coming back to your question that we have problem with our, the operators like Moblink, Telenor, Zong, we have connectivity issues, and also we have internet issues. Yes, they exist, but we have to keep up our speed and we have to improve our system. Especially, we have to adopt the predictive analytics and machine learning algorithms, but we have to enable our companies to be able to run these processes. Like, for example, as a data analyst, I know that if you have a data and it is not well prepared, well cleansed, so this machine learning results cannot be obtained. So insurance companies have to focus on the data and giving some experimental data to the students of the university and get some real-time results and incorporate into their real products. So this is how this is where I can see an opportunity that if we enable our students on our insurance data, so that it will be very, very beneficial for those young students and also for the insurance companies.
Thank you so much, Mr. Munir Ahmed. Mr. Nayyar, are you there with us?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Sir, so coming back to you, we've heard some brilliant recommendations today, a lot of analysis. But if I were to ask you to sum up today's conversation and perhaps give your policy recommendations, top 3 recommendations that you think can accelerate our journey with predictive analytics and artificial intelligence to be used in the context of insurance in Pakistan, what would that be?
Yeah. I think first is for the regulator. I think the regulator, has introduced regulatory sandbox.
Yeah.
In 2019. In fact, I introduced that when I was at SCCPL. So
and some great results came from there.
Yeah. So, and in fact, one of the outcomes of that regulatory sandbox is the digital insurance framework.
Absolutely.
The SEC has introduced a digital insurance framework, but I think one recommendation is that it should be recognized that currently, in order to really achieve the scales of high business volumes, so the regulatory framework should also recognize a phygital channel, which is a combination of physical human interaction and digital actually. For example, life insurance products, they are actually saving products. So for the average ticket size of saving product is higher. So just based on the interaction through social media or through a telephonic call or through Zoom, it will be very difficult to get the premium from the customer. There's a huge segment which relies on physical interaction. So I think the regulator should try to focus on enriching the consumer experience. It should not just only focusing on digitizing the sales process. So I think a phygital channel needs to be recognized under the regulatory framework. This is the first recommendation. Yeah. Second is that I think the industry as a whole should develop a roadmap of changing their business models, because As I earlier said, that when you are selling through digital channels, that required greater engagement with the customers, and then your products have to provide value actually. As Mr. Faisal Khan also earlier mentioned that there are high commissions in the life insurance side. Obviously, these high commissions are charged to the customers, and therefore the products provide low value into first 2 years actually. So when if you're selling through digital distribution channels, you need to redesign your products, which also provide values in the earlier years and pass on the benefit of reduced cost to the customers. So my second recommendation to the industry is that the industry, by industry I mean the existing players and particularly the life insurance players, they need to redesign their business model actually to bring more customer centricity into their business philosophy. And I think third recommendation would be obviously for the sponsors, because it is ultimately the sponsors who provide the capital for experimentation. So they also they also have to recognize the long-term nature of life insurance business. That life insurance business does provide good returns to the investors, but not in the earlier years actually. Obviously, the technology-based business model will accelerate the process of bringing the returns to the investors, but they have to show some patience for getting the returns here.
Right. Thank you, sir, for those very insightful comments. Now, Mr. Faisal Khan, sir, over to you to wrap up today's brilliant discussion and expand upon your policy recommendations.
I think many of the points has been very, elaborated by Nayyar Saab already. There is, I think, nothing more for me to add. But what I can further, take these comments is that, yes, apart from the regulation, and that is already in place, I think there's a lot more to be done by the industry themselves. And as you rightly pointed out, the sponsors have to be very mindful of this fact that in the very initial phases, you have to spend and keep on spending. And unless you spend and rightly focus and develop your IT infrastructure, you cannot grow and excel in this area. So for this, the very first thing to come up with is to have, enabling the people to have and equip them with the mobile digital tools. You have multi-source lead flow systems. You can have advanced customer analytics to enable straight-through processing of the customer applications. We see by virtue of this FATF and anti-money laundering and KYC things, I think we have to have fully automated end-to-end processes. It does not need to be a robotic process automation, to start with. But yes, I think the system have to be easier enough for the people to complete those KYCs there. And these can be simply, rather than a physical KYC, move to a e-KYC, which is, electronic, know your customer.
Absolutely.
Just like your facial recognition, just like your digital identity. So I think Nadra has done an excellent job in, compiling all those data and bringing it into the system. But what it needs to, what a company has to, or an insurance company has to do is to enable and its infrastructure to complete that KYC requirement through physical channels. So I think there is a lot of investment, there's a lot of physical effort to complete that KYC physically and compiling that information physically from the customers, rather than having an e-portal or a digital identity where people are supposed to register themselves first before buying insurance. So once you go into that system, nobody would have to go and ponder and to see that whether I have to go for that KYC again, whether I have to go that AML, whether I have to go for these specific checks, which I'm supposed to do before insuring those customers, especially on the life side. There's very little, I would say, consequence on the general, because there is no such financial transaction because the contract is based on indemnity. But on the life side, yes, I think there is some probability. So for that, you have to have the pre-underwrite things, that can accelerate the customer journey by reducing the interruptions.
You can have modular IT architecture, the third-party
Right.
software, cloud-based platforms. You can improve the agility and speed to market by leveraging cost benefits and scalability of the cloud-based services. Improve data governance, architecture, storage. I mean, there are not many things. I keep on talking, but I mean, there is. I mean, the one more thing which probably we have to think about is the human resource, and the human resource, hiring them now for this digital age to come. If we don't do it now, we all would be lagging behind. So what we need
Absolutely.
is data scientists. We need cloud architects. We need app builders. We need product developers. We need customer experience experts. So unless we are investing in the human resource potential and only keep on talking about the infrastructure itself, I think there's always, as I keep on telling on many occasions, that it's always a man behind machine. And if you don't have that mindset to adapt things, this infrastructure will be meaningless. So there is a lot more to be done in the human resource planning, recruitment, training, and development.
Agreed 100%, sir. Thank you. Mr. Nair, quickly, I think you have something to add. So we have a minute.
I think, Mr. Khan actually raised a point. I just wanted to more elaborate on that actually. That to improve the AI, we need a centralized onboarding mechanism for the insurance industry. Yeah. So the SECP is already working in that direction, and I think the earlier that mechanism is introduced, the more beneficial it would be for the benefit of the industry. And that centralized onboarding mechanism will be linked with.
Sorry, your mic is mute, sir.
So I think that will further add digitalization process in the industry.
Absolutely agreed 100%. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for those insightful comments. Building up upon what Mr. Faisal Khan said, here's my 2 cents to the discussion. It was very rightly pointed out that we need to create the right talent as well as the technology infrastructure. Just to give you an example, in augmented chess, if anyone's ever played, average players enabled by artificial intelligence tend to do better than expert chess players enabled by the same AI algorithms. The underlying reason for this counterintuitive outcome depends on whether the individual interacting with AI embraces, trusts, and understands the supporting technology. So in order to ensure that every part of the organization, the customers, also view advanced analytics as a must-have capability, carriers must make sure that there are measured but sustainable investments in people. That's my 2 cents to it. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Please keep contributing to the knowledge economy. And it's been an honor and a privilege having you here today.
Same here.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you in the next session.
Thank you much. Thank you.